Oh boy, you guys. I am so excited for today's episode. I'm going to be talking to somebody who has influenced me for the better for the last few years. She is on YouTube. She has done many different career paths during her time as a mom. And this message that she gives is just so encouraging and empowering to put your family first, that it's okay to change directions, that it's okay to try new things, and to pivot when necessary. And I think you all will walk away from this episode feeling empowered and ready for positive changes in your life if you feel called to do so. Glue, it's messy, it's sticky, it gets everywhere, but it's also really useful. Just like the glue that we need to put together the pieces of our life as busy working moms. We have after school activities, we have homework, we have cleaning, we have laundry. And, we want to spend time with our kids as well in the process and maybe even have some time for ourselves. This podcast is for the busy moms out there who are balancing work, life, and everything in between. And we all know that in between encompasses a lot of things. If you're a mom who wants to do the best in all areas of life, but still have time for yourself, this podcast is for you. I love to interview other moms and find out what works for them, get ideas from them, get inspired by them, and learn, we're all in this together. But I also like to share my own tips, tricks, struggles, triumphs, and share it all with you. So grab a load of laundry, lock yourself in the bathroom, go for a walk, do whatever you got to do. But I am just so glad you're here. Hey, Glue Sticks. I don't want to spend too much time introing this episode because it's longer and I think there's just so much wisdom, so much encouragement you can get. Today, I am interviewing Megan from Organized Little Lady. I hope a lot of you have heard about her, but if not, you'll definitely want to check her out after listening to this episode. She's going to talk about budgeting your time like you budget your money, how to put your family first, why it's not only okay, but sometimes a really good idea to pivot, to make changes in your career, that it's okay and good to put your family first and to do what you need to do for happiness, for stability, for providing for your family, and to put your family first among all else. And I just think this message is so needed because I think as moms, we feel so guilty no matter what we choose, which we talk about in this episode. And I think a lot of us feel guilty if we want to change career paths or go back to school or quit our jobs and become stay-at-home moms. This episode will give you so much encouragement, so many great tips, and I cannot wait for you to hear Megan and her story and her mission as a mom and content creator on YouTube. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to be talking to you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I don't know. We were just saying how it feels like talking to a friend you haven't seen in a while. So it's so
Yeah.
cool to actually have a real one-on-one time
Yeah,
conversation
it's
and see
really
your
awesome.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of my audience knows of you. Maybe before we even jump into your family, maybe just share about YouTube a little bit
Mhm.
and where people can find you before we even start.
Okay, sure. So I actually started my YouTube journey years ago when my children were babies. And basically, my whole objective over on YouTube is to just help inspire other women kind of navigate through their journey of motherhood and being a wife and just finding ways to organize and simplify your life so that way you can live and enjoy your life just a little bit more. So I am over at YouTube at Organized Little Lady, and you can find me on Instagram also.
Awesome. Yeah. Everybody go follow her if you haven't already. She has amazing content on YouTube and on Instagram, not just for working moms, but just moms or even just women in general. I don't think
Mhm.
it's necessarily specific to moms, but
Right.
I mean, anybody can get stuff out of your content. It's amazing.
Thanks. Same to you.
Oh, thank you. And then why don't you just share a little bit about your family, what your husband does, how old your kids are, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I've been married to my husband, Dean, for 10 years, but we've actually been together since high school. And together we have three children. We have Dylan, who is 12, Blake, who is 9, and Julia, who is 7. We also have a dog, Maisie, who we all adore. And my husband made a career change about 9 years ago, and he now works in law enforcement.
Okay. And he has kind of a crazy schedule from what I remember of your videos.
Yes, yep, he works odd hours and odd days off and whatnot, so
Okay. Yeah. So I
yep.
can relate for sure
Yeah,
to that. And maybe we'll jump into that a little bit later.
yeah,
So why don't you walk us through, so how old is your oldest? Did you
12.
say 12? So
Yep.
12 years ago, were you expecting to be a working mom? Where were you at in that point? Like, did you have a career going already? And then kind of just walk us through like from then up until now.
Sure. So, when I became a mom, I was actually working full time outside the home. I worked as a medical secretary in a rehabilitation department at our local hospital. And during that time, my husband actually worked for a company whose hours and work fluctuated quite a bit. So, he had some weeks that he would be working a full 40 hours, but there were some
Mhm.
other weeks that he would be laid off. So,
Mm.
right from the beginning of my motherhood journey, I not only was trying to sort of find my role as being a mother, but I also found my identity as being a provider for my family.
Okay.
So that was something that was sort of instilled in me right from the beginning of my motherhood journey. So moving forward, about 3 years later, we had our second child, and that's when my husband went back to school and made a career change, which significantly changed our financial situation. And at that point, I was able to transition from being a working mom to being a stay at home mom, something that I sort of dreamt of my entire life. But quickly, I realized that being stripped of that identity of being a provider, um, it really made me anxious.
Okay.
So, from that point forward, I sort of tried to find ways that I could support my family and provide for them. And I actually had my own cleaning company. I worked cleaning houses for a bit. And then when I had my third child, Julia, I took some time off from my cleaning company to stay home with her. And I had a friend who wanted me to help her with some childcare. She had some issues with her daycare provider. And being a working mom myself, I knew the importance of finding somebody who you really trust wholeheartedly to care for your child when you can't be there. So I started caring for her son, and that just sparked such a fulfillment in me. And so I went ahead and got my daycare license, and I ran my in home daycare for about 4 years. And as my group of daycare children got older and transitioned into school, I sort of found myself at a bridge. So I decided to make a career change at that point and went back to school for medical coding. I missed being in the medical office. So I got a job as a healthcare information specialist. And I worked there up until the pandemic.
Mhm.
And that sort of changed our perspective on some things and how our family just structures itself. So I this year have transitioned from being a working mom outside the home to a work at home mom. So this year, I'm really focusing more on just building my following through YouTube. And I, September 1st, joined Sensi as a consultant and have been working to build my Sensi business.
That's amazing. And I just saw, I think it was it an Instagram post where you said you like matched your part-time income
I
from
did,
that?
yes.
That's
Yep, this
amazing.
this
That's
past month,
awesome.
I was able to, match what I was making working outside the home, working
A
inside the home, so,
and
yeah.
how many hours would you say, and I'm sure that goes along with the following too. I'm sure at least some of that comes from that. But how many hours
Yes.
would you say you're working right now?
So I am working just about as much as I was. I was working part time previously, and I still work about 20 hours a week on
Okay.
building my YouTube community and my career as a Sensi consultant.
Okay, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, how many months was that to match? About
I
just a
joined
couple.
September 1st, so
Okay,
my sales in October matched my
that's amazing.
income. So yeah, it took a lot of hard
Awesome.
work and
Right,
dedication, but we live in such a unique time where we're able
right.
to sort of turn our hobbies into careers from home. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that. And so looking back, like before you became a mom, you were, doing you said you were a medical secretary and looking to where you are now, how has your vision of how you would balance being a mom and working kind of changed, or does it look the way you thought it would? Like, did you think you would love being a stay-at-home mom one day and then that kind of changed? Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like I said, I always envisioned myself being a stay-at-home mom. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I have such a passion for homemaking and really always thought that's where I belonged, was just as a role of being a stay-at-home mom. So early on in my parenthood years, I developed this identity of being a provider, and going through some financial hardships, I felt such a responsibility to help provide for my family. And when I became a stay at home mom, I realized that that made me anxious because I was being
Right.
stripped of that part of my identity. So I would say that although I didn't envision myself being a working mom, um, I wouldn't choose any other way at this point, because being a working mom fulfills me so much, just being able to help provide for my family.
For sure. No, I love that. I feel the same. I mean, I besides maternity leave, I don't think I've ever been solely a stay-at-home mom, but, like,
Mhm.
at least right now, I mean, I am doing stuff, online, but it's the closest I felt to it, but I still can bring in money because I can
Right.
totally see where the anxiety would come from, like,
Hmm.
what if something happened to my husband's job and, like, we just have nothing,
Yeah.
that's a
Yep.
lot of stress, so I could
Definitely.
see where that would come from. So
Mhm.
you're super organized. What does a typical do you have, like I'm sure you do have, like, a typical daily, weekly schedule? I know with the pandemic and school and stuff changing, I feel like all the time. But do you have, like, set hours that you try to do, or how do you set that up, working from home but online?
So I typically start my day about 5 o'clock in the morning. It's really important for me to get up before the kids. And my morning time is really dedicated to, first of all, just starting the day off a little bit slower paced than I normally would if the kids were waking up at the same time I was.
Right.
And I take some time in the morning to really focus on my morning routine, which consists of just helping me prepare for the rest of the day. So I take care of a few tasks such as unloading the dishwasher, switching the laundry over, making sure that the kids' bags are all set to go, their lunches are packed, dinner is ready to go for the night, not necessarily cooked, but just knowing that I have all the ingredients on hand. Um, and then when the kids wake up, I'm able to focus just on them. I get them off to school, and then I have a chunk of time where I just focus on work tasks. And what helps me is having a list ready to go of what exactly I'm going to focus on. I think, as working moms, especially work from home moms, there are so
Yeah.
many distractions. So having a detailed list of exactly what I want to focus on and achieve for that day helps me focus and get what I need to done. And then when the kids come home, I can focus solely on them.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I think I'm a firm believer in getting up before your kids. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but I know for me, I'm so cranky if I get up with them.
Yes. Oh, me
It's
too.
too
Yep.
much talking. Like, why do
Yes.
you wake up talking? Like, it's too much. Not enough
Yes.
coffee in the world can
Yeah.
prepare a person for that. Oh, I love it. So kind of backtracking a little bit, I was just kind of reflecting as you were talking about that, about, your journey as a working mom from many different things. You've done
Mhm.
many different things. You've done the cleaning business, you've done daycare, medical secretary, medical coding, and now, and kind of YouTube in there a lot of
Mhm.
that time. What is it hard? You talked about your identity and how it's really important to you to be a provider. Has it mattered to you that you've kind of jumped around? Do you feel, like, weird about that? I know some people are like, "I'm gonna have one career and I'm gonna stick to it," or do you just, like, kind of embrace wherever you're at in your motherhood and kind of how did that process work for you? Did that affect you mentally at all? Just jumping not jumping around, but you know what I mean, going from
Mhm.
different careers.
Yeah.
per se?
So I think that for our family, our main focus has been our family unit and trying to do what works for us. So during the time that my husband was laid off, I was the sole provider, and that's what we needed at the time.
Mhm.
And basically, that's kind of what I put in the forefront of my priorities. What do we need at this time? And
Yeah.
so, jumping around to different careers that fit that, it doesn't bother me because I'm doing exactly what's needed.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to not just succumb to the situation that you're in, but to always ask yourself, what's working? What's not working? If it's not working, what can I do to change that and make it work for us? And that's something that my husband and I have tried to do, throughout our whole parenthood journey. And, so far we've made it work. So I definitely don't necessarily think that jumping around from job to job has hindered me in any way. And if anything, it just makes our family stronger because we're doing what works for us.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such an important message for moms to hear, like, you don't have to stay in whatever lane you picked if
Mhm.
especially if you hate it, it's not serving you, you can jump around, like, who's gonna care? You know, the people who are gonna care, why are you caring what they have to say anyway? And your
Exactly.
family
Yep.
is the most important, and
Mhm.
I love that, and I'm kinda the same way. I was a teacher, and I honestly hated it, like, it just
Mhm.
wasn't for me, at least the grades I was doing and stuff, and I just felt it on my heart to quit, and I did, and I didn't have kids at the time, so it wasn't as risky as it would have been now, but
Mhm.
and even my daycare, that just kind of like you, it just kinda happened.
Yep.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of people who go into daycare, it just kinda happens. For
Yep.
some people, it becomes a lifelong career, and I think that's great, and for
Mhm.
some, it serves you for a time, and then you can move on to something else, and we are in such a great time to be a mom in some ways. I think it's a
Yeah,
really critical time to be a mom, but we have so many opportunities, and
definitely.
I think
Yes.
why not try a few things, see what works.
Exactly.
There are so many different things you could even go into if that doesn't work. So thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that. And
Yeah.
then talking about your cleaning business, I didn't know that about you,
Yeah.
and so how did you get started with that, and how did you juggle being a mom with that? Did you have just 1 child, 2 children at that time?
So at the time I had my boys, so Dylan
Okay.
and Blake, and again, that just kind of was born out of my anxiety. I
Yeah.
needed something to fulfill that provider in me, and not providing for my family in any way gave me a lot of anxiety, and I
Mm.
wasn't the best mom that I could be to my children.
Right.
So I'm pretty good at cleaning, and I
Yeah.
had a few people that. Showed interest. So I actually only had 3 clients, but I cleaned their house on a weekly basis,
Okay.
and, I loved it. I loved the conversations that we had. I loved, again, just being able to help provide for my family. It wasn't a huge income by any means,
Right.
but it gave me that fulfillment that I needed.
And then did your kids go to, like, family during that time, or did you take them with? I'm just curious because I know a lot of moms do cleaning, and I have never known how they've balanced that.
Yeah, so my husband, like we mentioned earlier, does work really odd hours. So we were able to just sort of juggle my
Okay.
cleaning schedule around his work schedule. And
Gotcha.
so he watched the kids while I went and did some cleaning, and it just worked for us.
Awesome. No, that's great. That's awesome if you can get it to work around your schedule and you don't have
Yeah.
to pay for daycare. I think that's great.
Hmm.
What would you say has been your favorite part about being a working mom? I mean, you've talked about the lack of anxiety, like, probably not
Hmm.
it's not totally gone ever, but decreased anxiety when you're working. But what are some other favorite parts of working in any form as a mom?
I love the experience that it has given me. I have definitely tried my hand at different jobs, and each job has taught me something new, and I feel like has given me some growth. And so I really appreciate the experiences that I'm getting out of being a working mom that I wouldn't have if I was a stay at home mom.
Right. And then what would you say have been some of the biggest struggles? And maybe it's been different, in the different jobs you've done, but what are some of the struggles you've faced being a working mom?
I think my biggest struggle being a working mom, whether it be outside the home or within the home, has been the guilt that I harbor. So I am guilty by nature. I just tend to harbor quite a bit of guilt. And as a working parent outside the home, I felt guilty if, the school nurse called and I had to drop everything and pick up a
Right.
sick kiddo, and my colleague had to pick up some of my slack.
Yeah.
And being a work at home mom, I feel some guilt sometimes if my children, want me to go to the park with them or want to
Right.
play. They don't understand that, I have certain tasks that I have to get done. And so I would say that my biggest obstacle with being a working mom has been the guilt.
Yeah, I think a lot of moms can relate to that.
Yeah,
I did a Instagram post recently where I was like, I feel like no matter what you choose, you're gonna feel guilty, so just pick the one that makes you the happiest, because 'cause you're gonna
exactly.
feel
Yeah.
guilty no matter what you choose.
Yep.
There's no perfect solution. I mean,
Right.
you have to balance multiple things, whether you're solely a stay-at-home mom, a working mom, somewhere in
Mhm.
between, like, there's going to be guilt. I think that just, like, the second you give birth, you're just
Yep.
guilty of something,
Yeah.
and we I don't know, we are our own worst critics, and I think we're always the hardest on ourselves, so
I agree.
I
Yes.
appreciate you sharing that. I think a lot of people will
Mhm.
relate to that. And then talk a little bit about YouTube, how long you've been on YouTube and how you got started in that, where the inspiration came from to be Organized Little Lady, and, where organizing even came from in your life and how you knew you were good at that and enjoyed that and wanted to talk about it. That's a really long question, but
So, for YouTube, I started, let's see, I believe it was 2013 or 14 that I started my channel. And I, as a stay at home mom transitioning from being a working mom, found so much support through YouTube. I followed women who just shared what was working for them, how they ran their homes efficiently, and as I sort of navigated through my journey as, a stay-at-home mom, I kind of developed things that worked for me and had this desire to share that with other people. My goal has been, if there's something that's working for me, then I want to share that with other people and help inspire other people who might be in a similar situation that I was when I first started YouTube. So, as far as the organization is concerned, I feel like I really developed a sense for organization out of necessity. Early on, like I said, I was a working mom, working 9 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, and I think there's a stigma that surrounds working parents that, if you're a working parent, your home life is in disarray and just
right.
chaotic. And I didn't want that to be true because, like I said, I have such a passion for homemaking. So I always just tried to figure out new ways that I could help my family just in my home life run a little bit more efficiently. And I found ways that worked for me. And like I said, I think my organization was sort of born out of necessity. I just needed to be organized so that way I could enjoy my home life a little bit more.
Yeah. And for anybody listening who might, kind of be interested in fitting YouTube in on the side, you did that for a long time.
Mhm.
Do you have any advice for them, or even if they're like, "Well, I wanna start something, but I don't even know what advice would you give them?"
Well, it sounds kind of cliche, but just get started. I feel like there's so many obstacles that we put in front of ourselves that, oh, I can't do this because I can't do that because, and you never know what could blossom if you just turn on your camera and start sharing what inspires you. There are so many people in the world that are
Mhm.
looking for information that you could potentially help somebody else out there. And I don't think that there's a perfect formula to fitting it all in. I think that if you are passionate about something, then you should absolutely go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my channel's changed so much over the years, and I think it's a wonderful thing just to start, and you can always pivot and
Mhm.
change.
Yep.
And there's like you said, there's so many people in the world, there's a need for whatever you have to share, and somebody can find value from that.
Mhm.
Would you say now that you view YouTube as a part of a business for you?
I think that I'm starting to look at it more that way. there have been many, many years that I basically just did it as a hobby or just
Yeah.
literally to help somebody out there.
Right.
And I am finding that I'm becoming more passionate about creating an online presence that is going to serve my family a little bit more also.
Yeah.
So I am looking at YouTube more and more as a career, but it certainly didn't start out that way.
Yeah. Same.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. Do you find it like do people in your life know about your channel and is that something you like freely talk about or do they kind of just find out? Like how does that work for you?
So my family and closest friends do know, and it's kind of funny. My dad, he owned a store in town,
Okay.
and a lot of we live in a small town, so I feel like
Yeah.
everybody knows everybody,
Yeah.
and a lot of people that I knew from high school would stop in at the store, and he would tell everybody, "Oh, you
Oh,
have to check out my daughter's channel," and I
that's
was
so
like, "Dad,
cute. Oh my
please."
gosh.
But, in the beginning, I was definitely a little bit more, I don't know what the right word is, maybe a little bit embarrassed that I was
Yeah.
doing it. It was a little bit more taboo at that time
Yeah.
also to have a YouTube channel. But at this point, I am proud of the work that I do, and why not share that? So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, I I I still don't really share I mean, my closest friends know, but, like, so many people just found me, like, I in the daycare community, like, locally, were like, "I was searching something and then your face
Oh
popped up,
my
like, why didn't you tell us?" And I'm like, "'Cause it's weird," like,
god.
you know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah, it does feel
on
weird.
on
Yeah.
our end, it doesn't feel weird
Mhm.
to, like, pick up a camera and talk to it, like, here
Right.
and there about stuff, but when you know other people you know are watching,
Yes,
that's kinda
it's
weird for some reason.
yeah, it almost feels like a little bit more comfortable if you're talking to people that you don't necessarily know
Yes.
in real life, but knowing that some people that you do know in real life are watching you, it almost just feels a little bit more invasive.
Right, it do and then I'll be talking to somebody and they'll say something and I'm like, "Wait, did I tell you that or
Yeah.
did you hear that in my video?" Like, which is fine. I mean, I would tell them anything I share online, I would obviously feel okay sharing, like, I
Yeah,
don't share really private stuff, but
right.
it's always just kinda like that weird thing, and I don't know the right word for it either because 'cause I'm not like, I'm proud of it,
Exactly, but
but
it's
it's
still
just kind of this
uncomfortable.
awkward yeah, like and, like, I don't want people to think that I think I'm, like, this amazing person. I just like to share,
Right.
and
Yep.
now I'm, like, trying to own it more, especially since that's, like, my sole like, main thing
Mhm.
I'm doing now, and I feel like now with the podcast, though, I don't know why, but podcasting, I feel like sounds a little more professional, so I can be like, "Well, I have a
Yeah.
podcast," but like, I don't know, it's just it's funny to hear from other people who kind of have experienced the same thing, but it's so cute that your dad would, like,
Oh my
talk
gosh,
about
yeah.
my I could so see my parents doing that too, and, like,
Oh,
I don't even know I know my mom gets it, I don't think my dad still even fully
yeah.
understands, and I know neither of them really get how you can make money or, serve people, but I'm like,
Right.
"Maybe
Well,
I'll
and
sit them down."
it's kind of amazing to think that our generation is really the first generation that created this whole new genre of
Right,
careers. So,
for sure.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
And my mom too has I think she kind of planted the entrepreneurial spirit in me.
Mhm.
She never was like an entrepreneur full well, me I mean, she does accounting for people,
Okay.
across the board. So I guess that still would be considered entrepreneur, but she had always wanted to start something, but it was so hard. Like she loved crafting and stuff like that, but it was always so expensive and super
Yeah,
hard to like actually make a full living off
right.
of it. And I think, she kinda gets bummed about that, but I'm like, "Well, at least, you put that fire in me, and now I live
Yeah,
in this time where I can do that, and, I'm
absolutely.
doing something with it, and, I think that's something I really want to, encourage moms, like, you have so many resources available to you, fit it in the
Definitely.
side, like, just
Mhm.
whatever it is you wanna do,
Yep.
there's a way to do it in little chunks that's not super risky, to your
Mhm.
family, but that it just take use of what we have right now, especially, like, with the pandemic. We were actually
Absolutely.
able to, you know, change direction for our family, which has been really
Yeah.
cool and exciting. Scary, but exciting,
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Okay, so it is a new year and you are a very organized mom, organized little lady. What are a few organizing hacks or productivity hacks that you have that you think would be helpful for working moms that they can implement in the new year? Especially, hopefully, they're looking for some like good tips to kind of move in a
Yeah,
new
I
direction in
know. Yes,
2021.
2021, come on. Okay, so I would say, number 1, budget your time like you would budget your finances. So, especially as working parents, we are strapped for time and we have limited time. So we need to decide how we're going to spend it and where we're going to spend that time. You can't do everything. So determine what is most important to you and really budget that time. I honestly started doing this with just a notepad and I would write down the hours that I would wake up throughout the day and when I went to sleep and block off any time that I had for working or any of those structured times that
Yeah,
are. And then I would just try to fit in different things throughout that time. It really does help you say no to different
yeah.
choices also because I am a yes girl. I am a people pleaser to a fault. And especially when my kids started school, there are so many people that come at you like, can you join this committee?
Oh,
Can you
I
join
bet. Yeah,
and, I had this desire to say yes to everything, but budgeting my time really helped me to determine where I can spend that time and just focus on what was most important to our family. So, budgeting time is a huge thing. Also, I have established what I like to call bookend routines. So basically, bookending my day. You start with a routine that's going to help you throughout the remainder of your day. So for me, that means just wiping down my bathrooms and unloading the dishwasher, preparing lunches for everyone's snacks, and making sure I have what I need on hand for dinners, making sure that my laundry is switched over to the dryer and then at the end of the day, I end each day with an evening routine. So basically, wrapping up the day, any to dos that needed to get done that I wasn't able to. I also run my dishwasher at night so it's ready to be unloaded in the morning. I load my washing machine with clothes and I set the timer to go off first thing in the morning while I'm getting ready and plan my day for the following day. So that way I know that I'm prepared going into a new day. And number 3 would just be plan and prepare. I think it is so important to be prepared, and you can really do that by planning. I know you're a huge advocate for planning also. It's just
yes.
life changing. It really is. So I think those are some tips that have really helped me personally as a working mom and are really doable.
Yeah, for sure. I was taking notes. I love that. Budget your time like you budget your finances.
Mhm.
I think if you think of it in that way, we have to say no to things all the time when we want to buy them, or else we go
Run out of money.
bankrupt.
Yeah.
But with time, I mean, you can't necessarily go bankrupt for time. You just literally will run yourself ragged. And I
Exactly.
really I'm gonna think about that more. Like when you say yes, just like with finances, if I'm saying yes
Mhm.
to buying these shoes, then I might be saying no to retirement money or whatever, or going out to
Right.
eat with my family or what have you. So
Mhm.
I really love that. And I know you're super huge on routines. So am I. So I
Yes.
definitely
Yeah.
recommend people go check out your videos. You're like the stuff I like to do, but like not on steroids. I mean, you're not like crazy, but you just make it seem very manageable and I don't know, and just very clean and neat and orderly, and
Oh.
I feel like my brain needs that, like,
Mhm.
I don't like, if you see my handwriting, that's what my brain is like, it's
Oh.
horrible, but I love your planning videos too, I think that's how, for me, I've been able to fit so much in because people are always like, "How do you do so much?" Well, I'm like, first of all, I say no to a lot. My
Mhm.
house isn't as clean as it could be,
Yep. Yeah.
I hate cleaning, so
Yeah.
I keep it tidy and somewhat clean, but I'm
Mhm.
not like a f I it's just not my
Yeah.
thing.
Not your priority. Yeah.
Um, and then, waking up early like you talked about and just fitting especially with little kids, like, you only have short periods of time where you can actually focus and,
Mhm.
your
Yep.
people aren't running around and asking for
Exactly.
things. And so
Eating,
you
yes.
have to be really strict about it.
Mhm.
But it's worth it. It's totally worth it to fit those things in, and mapping it out has been a huge lifesaver for me. So I thank you for sharing those tips.
Yeah.
I think they'll be really helpful to people. So having all these different jobs that you've done, and I know family is so important to you and you make time for that, but have you ever struggled with, fitting in time with your husband or fitting in time with your friends or self-care? And how have you kind of made it a point to make that work fit in, or have you just had to kind of let that go at certain times?
So, as far as making time for my husband and I, that has been a huge priority for us. So, right from the beginning, I feel like we set boundaries for our children. We do have early bedtimes for our children. My oldest son is 12 and he's expected to be in bed at 8. He doesn't have to be
Yeah.
sleeping at that point. He
Right.
can read. We allow him some tech time, like to talk to his friends, text on his phone.
Yep.
And then at a certain point, technology is on lockdown. And
Yep.
but that allows, my husband and I to have some time just for us, which again is so important for that family unit,
Yeah.
for us to really invest in our relationship. So, setting boundaries, I think, has been huge for us. Just saying, like, this is when it's our time, and we deserve that time as much as we deserve time with our children. As for time with my friends, we try to be pretty intentional about, obviously, right now, we're not
Right.
seeing each other as much, but,
Yeah.
it's hard because we're all in the, trenches of motherhood right now, so we might not be able to see each other as much as we'd like, but we try to make it a point to connect with one another, so we have, like, this group chat, and we text each other, throughout the week and just stay connected in that way. And as far as my self care is concerned, I find joy in simple things such as reading or taking a bath. And I try to really just look forward to something every single day, whether it's just special toppings on my coffee or, painting my nails. And that really helps me with the stressors that come in, as being a working mom. Just having something every single day that I can look forward to.
Love that. Yeah. I think it's really important, you to give time to the things that are priorities.
Mhm.
Otherwise, are they really priorities? If you
Right.
look at your time and you're not spending any time on a certain thing like your spouse or your health or any of those things, like,
Mhm.
is it really a priority then? And I think they are, but we have to actually be conscious about thinking of it in that way and be like, okay, it's not looking like a priority right now because I'm not
Right.
making any time for it.
Yep.
And then in every episode, I love to ask people or share my own survival tips for being a mom. What would you say is a survival tip that you use that you think would be helpful to other working moms out there?
So sort of like what I just touched upon
Yeah.
is finding something every single day that you can look forward to. That has been my survival tip throughout all the different phases of motherhood. And especially, I started this, I think, when I did daycare. I found that, there's a lot of noise and chaos throughout the
Yeah.
day. And to avoid that burnout feeling, I would just plan one thing every single day that I looked forward to. So, whether it be reading a chapter in a book that I enjoyed, or watching something on TV that I enjoyed, or taking a bath, painting my nails, it was all very simple things that I could do from home. But just planning one thing every single day that I can look forward to has been a huge, huge motivator for me because no matter how stressful the day can get,
Yeah.
I know that there's one thing that I can look forward to.
And then do you usually like actually write that down, or, at the beginning of doing that, were you really intentional, or did you do it at the same time every day? How did you fit those things in?
So for me, yeah, I started by just writing a list of things that I was going to do throughout the week. And then I started doing planning per day. So,
Okay.
tonight when the kids go to bed and after, so my husband works nights most of the time. So
Yeah.
we would have our time, and then when he would go to work, I would have a half an hour to myself. And
Okay.
that's when I would, watch a show, paint my nails. I was just really intentional about not just scrolling on my phone, but really taking the
Yeah.
time to fill my cup and do what I felt, was going to fulfill me and make me happy, and something I could just look forward to each day.
Right. I love that. And I don't know why, but it just made me think of like, and this is not to knock moms who drink wine, but the
Mhm.
memes and stuff that are going around, like, I can't wait for my wine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You create your own like
Mhm.
non-alcoholic wine at the end of the
Yeah,
day and
exactly,
fit
right.
that in. I love that because I find by the end of the day, I'm just so like exhausted.
Yeah.
I say I'm worthless to the world by the end of the
Mhm.
day, and yet here we
Yeah.
are talking. So
I
thank you for
know. Oh,
giving me some purpose at the end of the
yeah.
day when we're recording
Oh,
this. But I think that's a really good idea because I always have like all these thoughts of like when the kids go to bed, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm like asleep on the couch.
I
So
know.
I love the idea of like something small,
Mhm.
not a lot of work, but that fills me up in some way that I can plan and look forward to instead of just like looking forward to going to bed. It's
Right,
kind of
yeah.
sad
I
sometimes,
know. Oh,
like,
but yeah,
it's
I get it.
real life, but
Yes, it
I
is
love that
real.
idea
Yeah.
of actually planning it and deciding what you're gonna do.
Mhm.
And then what would you say is something in your life that has earned the mama seal of approval? Some kind of product or app or what have you that has really helped you that you think other moms should know about?
So I have been using it's a free app called Trello, and I know a lot of people probably have heard of this. I think I was living like under a rock or something. I had never heard of it, and I started using it to help organize my children's school schedules, my Scentsy business, my social media posts. Basically, what it is, it's a free app that you create different boards. So a board is basically a category, and within that board, you can create different lists. But within those lists, you can upload photos, you can attach links. So it's been so helpful for me. If I get an email from a teacher with a Zoom meet, I can take that link and attach it to Dylan's board if it's his Zoom meet. And I can sync everything to my Google Calendar. So it has just been extremely helpful in keeping all sorts of different areas of my life organized.
And then would you have any like ideas of what kinds of boards most families could kind of start with? Or I'm sure it's pretty specific. I use Trello too for business, but I'm curious like how what different categories or lists you have going in there for your family.
Sure. So I have one list, like I said, for school.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we have a general school board, but then I have a list just specifically for each one of my children. And within that list, there are schedules and teacher information. So there are numbers and emails. I also have a board that I keep sort of as like a checklist for each month of what it is that I need to plan out for that month.
Okay.
So, budget, my kid activities, just anything,
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's sort of an ongoing checklist. I also like to have activities for my younger kids, especially after school.
Yeah.
My two youngest children, they are like water and oil. So if I don't keep them busy, especially during this
Yes.
pandemic, it can become chaos very quickly. So I find free printables on Pinterest, and I usually plan 1 month at a time.
Okay.
And I can attach those right on my Trello board and, click on the link and have it print all wirelessly. So it really has helped me, like I said, just kind of everything that I need to
Yeah.
stay on top of is in one app.
I love that. I am gonna stay up late tonight, like, thinking of how I could use that better. I love the idea of, like, all the school information and
Mhm.
the after school like, my too. Oil and water. I'm like,
Yeah.
"How does it start so young?" I have
Oh my
no
goodness.
idea,
Yeah.
like, just love each other. Is it that
No.
hard? Like, I don't get it.
Oh,
So, yeah, and I actually today was thinking of, like, I need to plan more activities for that whole after school transition because my eye starts twitching like, "Oh my goodness, like
I
what's going on here?" So I love that. I think that's a great tip. And yeah, I've used Trello for business, but I've never really used it. And I could even get my husband maybe
yeah,
try to get him on there too. We'll see.
yeah,
It's
definitely.
always hard. Is your husband, does he
Oh my
use it
goodness.
too?
He is
Okay.
not very good with technology
Yeah.
or even planning. I feel like I have
Yeah.
all of the type A personality
Yep.
and he has none. So
Yep. I relate. I love my husband. It's just like we
yeah,
each have our own gifts, and
yeah,
I tell him all the time, I wish I could be more like him, like
I
just
know.
let
Yeah,
stuff go, like not have to worry so much about
yeah,
every little detail, but we are who we are. And there's benefits to both,
yeah,
especially as parents, like we really balance each other out, which is nice.
absolutely.
But
Yep.
well, thank you so much. You
Oh,
have so much knowledge and just inspiration and encouragement for moms out there. So I definitely want everybody to go check you out if they haven't already. Go follow you on Instagram and YouTube and buy from you on Scentsy. I just want to support everything you're doing. Do you have any final words of encouragement or final advice you would give to moms listening?
I think my final words would just be like I said, don't feel like you have to succumb to your current situation. I have had many times throughout my life that I felt sort of trapped financially, that I couldn't leave a job. But you can always look at your situation and ask, what's working, what's not working, and how can I make it better in every aspect of your life. So, just making small adjustments at home can make a huge impact in your overall life. And that sort of translates over to your work life also. So, always just trying to find new ways to better your situation has been really helpful in my life. And, I encourage everyone to do the same.
I love that. And then where can people find you if they wanna go find out more and see all your routines and your planners and day in the lives and everything, where can they find you?
Sure. So you can find me on YouTube at Organized Little Lady. I'm also on Instagram and I post a lot more like real time updates and whatnot over on Instagram. And my handle over there is the same. It's Organized Little Lady. So that's,
Awesome. So everybody go
oh,
follow and I love it. Your channel should be way huger than it is. So
oh,
let's
thanks, Sarah.
drive some traffic over there. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for taking time out of your busy day to talk with us. I just had a blast. I could talk for like 4 more hours, but I don't want to keep you any longer. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I really do appreciate being here. It's just such an
Thank
honor to
you.
be part of your podcast. I'm really proud
Thank
of you.
you. I literally was taking notes during that conversation. I had to message Megan upon editing this episode and just tell her, "You are such a great speaker. You're so eloquent. You have so much wisdom." And it was just so cool to hear her in a different context. And if you've never heard her before, definitely go over to her channel. She just has the biggest heart, is so sweet. You can tell the love she has for her family and for those watching, the love she wants to share with the world for homemaking, for organizing, for productivity, time management. She and I have a lot in common in that way, but the way she goes about it just seems so like low stress and straightforward. And I just love everything she puts out there. So I definitely am excited to continue following her on her journey as a mom. And if she pivots again, that's totally okay. And I loved the message she shared that you can change your mind. You don't have to stay in one lane and stay there forever just because you feel like you are stuck or you have to. You can pivot. And if you guys go back and re-listen to or listen for the first time to my second episode, which was all about my postpartum journey and how hitting rock bottom actually was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because it really forced me and encouraged me to go out there and follow my dreams. I would highly encourage you to go listen to that episode. It's very similar to what Megan shared in that it's okay to change your mind. And I decided to just go after my dreams. And here I am following my dreams now. It's been a few years. It's taken me a while, but here I am. And I want to encourage you guys to do the same. I think life is too short to just do the same thing over and over if it's not serving you, if it's not serving your family. There are so many opportunities for us as moms. And if you get anything from my podcast or my YouTube channel, it's that Go after your dreams. Make the most of the time you're given on earth. Cut out the fluff that doesn't matter and really focus on the things that do matter. Don't get to the end of your life and wish you would have done things differently. Live your dreams right now. It doesn't have to be risky. You can do little things right now, and I will have plenty of episodes more about that in the future. But thank you to Megan, and thank you guys for listening. As always, go get something done, go love on your kids, and go live your dreams. I'll talk to you soon.